Good morning, students. So, in the last class, we have seen what is a process, the definition of a process, and what are the primary process and secondary process, or the parent process or a child process, right? So, and we have also seen with an example, right, how operating system creates child processes and it will allocate different tasks to those processes, right? So in today's class we will see how to implement those processes, right? So in the operating system, a process is a unit of computational work. What do you mean by this? So process is an executable form of a program, and a program does some useful task or some particular task, right? So it's a process is a unit of computational work. Hence, the kernel's primary task is to control operation of processes to provide effective utilization of the computer system, right? So operating system is going to allocate different resources to these processes once they start executing, right? And operating system will make sure that these resources are used effectively, right? Next, the kernel allocates resources to a process. This we know, right? And protects the process and its resources from the interference by other processes, right? So once the resources are allocated to one process, right? So those resources will not be shared with the other processes, right? Until and unless they are the parent process, right? So parent process resources can be shared with the child process, because operating system will not allocate resources to child process, right? So resource will be allocated to parent process, and the child process will make use of those resources, right? And the resources allocated to one process cannot be shared with the other process, and ensures that the process gets to use the CPU until it completes its operation, right? So process will make sure that, or operating system will make sure that once the execution of process is over, then only the CPU or the resource will be released from those processes, right? uh, Now, what are the fundamental functions of a kernel for controlling the processes, right? So how the kernel is going to control the different processes which are running in the computer system, right? So you can observe this block diagram here. It's an event is nothing but requesting for the resources is nothing but an event, right? So next, context save. Second one is event handling, scheduling, and dispatching. So what are the definitions of these, and what is the use of these terms, that we will see now. Okay. The first one, context save. What is context save? Saving the CPU state and information concerning resources of a process whose operation is interrupted. Let us say if there are two processes which are running, okay. Let, let us say P1 and P2 are running in a computer system. So let us assume P2 has a highest priority compared to P1, right? So P2 has highest priority and P1 has lowest priority. So let us say P1 is running in a computer system, right? So what happens? P1 is running in a computer system. Then what happens? Suddenly, if one more P2, which has the highest priority, that comes into computer system, or what you can say, the higher priority process wants the CPU, right? In that case, what happens? Operating system will release the computer central processor unit from P1, and it will allocate it to P2, right? So before that CPU is given to P2, the state of the low priority process has to be saved, right? So if it is not saved properly, then once the execution of P2 is over, right, so again CPU will be given back to the lower priority process, which is P1, right? So again P1 should not be executed from the scratch or from the first instruction, right? So it has to be executed from where it has been interrupted, right? So this is the main task of a kernel, which is nothing but the context save, right? So the CPU state or the process state is saved once the resources are released from that process to, or which is given to low priority process to high priority process. Second one, the event handling. analyzing the condition that led to an interrupt, or the request by a process that led to a system call, and taking appropriate actions. So event handling, right? So kernel will check the condition which leads to an interrupt, right? So let us say in the first context, say an interrupt has generated. Interrupt is in the form of requesting for the central processor unit by the highest priority process, right? So when this interrupt is when this interrupt is occurred, then operating system will also check what is the condition that led to an interrupt or the request by a process that led to a system call, right? So here a higher priority process is the requesting for the resources, then so that will be the condition. The priority itself is the condition, right? So P2 has a higher priority compared to P1, so that itself is a condition, and it will check that condition. If that condition is true, then only the resource will be allocated to that particular process. Next, third one is scheduling. Scheduling, I've already discussed it in detail in the first module, right? So selecting the process to be executed next on the CPU, right? So once the CPU is released from the lower priority process, that is P1, P2 is scheduled. P2 is scheduled, or CPU is allocated to process P. Selecting the process to be executed next on the computer system, central processor unit, right? So scheduling is selecting a process to which a particular central processor unit is given. Next, the last one, dispatching, setting up access to resources of the scheduled process and loading its saved CPU state. Loading its saved CPU state in the CPU to begin or resume its operation. What do you mean by this? Dispatching, it will set up, the operating system will set up an environment to execute that particular process, which is nothing but a dispatching, and loading its saved CPU state in the CPU to begin or resume its operation. Dispatching is creating an environment by the operating system to execute the different processes, right? So these are the fundamental functions of a kernel for handling of or for controlling of processes, right? So moving to the next slide, we will see what are the different states of the processes, right? So process has depending on the complexity, how complex you want to make that process state, so it will be having a 4 to 6 states, right? So first we will see what are these different process states. The process states and the state transitions. State transitions we will see later in the subject. Okay, next one, the first one is process state. What is a state of a process? It is an indicator that describes the nature of the current activity of the process, right? So it is an indicator which describes the current activity of a process, whether the process is busy, whether it is blocked, whether it is running, right? So these are the different processes or process states which will indicate the nature of the current activity of the process. So in the table you can see the fundamental process states. The first one is running. Running state, the CPU is currently executing instructions in the process code. Running in the sense the particular process is running and CPU is allocated to that particular process, and process instructions are going to be run on the central processor unit. Second state is blocked. The process has to wait until a resource request made by it is granted, or it wishes to wait until a specific event occurs. That means whenever the process requests for the resources to an operating system, if those resources are not available, then operating system must wait until one or the other process release the resources, right? So until that, the particular process is said to be in blocked state, right? Or whenever an event occurs, and to fulfill that event by an operating system, right? The process has to wait in a blocked state. The second state of the process is blocked state. right? So whenever the process requests for any of the resources, yeah, and if those resources are not allocated by the kernel or the operating system, then process will enter into a blocked state. And the third state is ready. The process wishes to use a CPU to continue its operation, however it has not been dispatched. That means the CPU is ready. That means whenever the CPU, the process wishes to use the CPU to continue its operation, right? So let us say it has the resources, right? Whatever memory, monitors, keyboards, whatever it has, whatever it requires, those are allocated to that particular process. Because of higher priority process, the CPU is released from that process. In such cases, the process will enter into the ready state, right? So only and everything is ready. Everything is ready with that process, and even that process is running on a CPU, right? So if any high priority process comes, then the CPU will be released from that particular process and it will be given to a high priority process, right? So in such cases, the process will enter into a ready state. That means whenever temporary execution of a process is halted by some higher priority processes, then we call the process state as ready state. And the last one, terminated state, as the name itself tells, once the execution of process is over, it will enter into a terminated state. The operation of a process, that is the execution of a program represented by it, has completed normally, or the OS has aborted because of some errors. Because of some errors, if so once the execution of the process is over, then it will enter into the last state, that is terminated state, right? Or whenever the process is executing and some error occurs, then operating system will forcefully terminate that particular process, and in such cases also the process will enter into a terminated state. Okay, so these are the different states of the processes. One is blocked, second one is running, third one is ready, and the last one is terminated, right? So in the next slide we will discuss what are the different transitions, or when the process state changes from running to ready, or ready to blocked, or blocked to terminated, and all, right? Next, the causes of fundamental state transitions for a process, right? So when the process state is going to change from one state into another state, so transition is switching of the states, changing of the states from one state to another state. And what are the different causes for those changes, that we will see now. The first column is state transition and the description, right? So let us say when it is in ready state, so this is the first state, right? So before it jumps, it is in ready state. So after jumping, it will be in running state. When it jumps from ready state to running state, that we will see. The process is dispatched. That means the operating system has created an environment to execute that particular process, right? So in such cases, the CPU begins or resumes the execution of its instruction, right? So because of a higher priority processes, the low priority process has entered into a ready state, right? So the CPU which was allocated to it is relinquished or released from that particular low priority process, and it will be given to a high priority process, right? So in such case, it will enter into a ready state. So once the high priority process execution is over, then CPU will be released and it will be given back to a low priority process, right? A low priority process. In that case, a low priority process will enter from ready state to running state. Second one, the blocked state to ready state, right? So when process is in block state, whenever it has requested some of the resources and those resources are not given by the operating system, then process will enter into a blocked state, right? So once those resources are allocated by the operating system to that particular process, then the process state will be changed from the blocked state to ready state. A request made by a process is granted, or an event for which it was waiting occurs, right? So whenever the process begins, whenever process enters from, whenever the process is requesting for resources, and those resources are allocated to that particular process, and the process will be process state will change from block to ready state. The third one, running to ready. Let us say CPU is given to a particular process, and that process is running on this central processor unit. Then that state is called a running state, right? So when it jumps from running state to ready state, the process is preempted. Preempted. Whenever what do you mean by preemption? It's a forceful releasing of any of the resources from the process is called a preemption, because the kernel decides to schedule some other process, that is a high priority process. This transition occurs either because of high priority process becomes ready, or because the time slice of the process elapses, right? So in the first module we have seen round robin scheduling with the time slicing, right? So a particular timestamp is allocated by the scheduler to a particular process. Once that particular timestamp is over, right? So that CPU will be released from that process, and it will be given to some other process. That is the one condition. Or the second condition is whenever a high priority process comes into picture, or when it becomes ready to execute on the central processor unit, then also the state of the process, low priority process, is changed from running to ready. Okay. Next one, the fourth one, running to blocked. The process in operation makes a system call to indicate that it wishes to wait until some resource request made by it is granted. That means the process in operation, let us say one process is running on the central processor unit in operation, makes a system call to indicate that it wishes I'll continue this in the next class, because my laptop is getting shut down, right? So we'll continue this in the next class. Okay.